Thank you to the Vermont Sport Hall of Fame for this honor. I'm Jim Holland. So, when someone breaks through and succeeds, we often assume, wrongly I think, that the success, the emergence, was simply the result of talent. In reality, I think if you look closely, I think all success stories have some common themes. Invariably, I think there are some extraordinary people behind the scenes who helped create opportunities, instill the right values, and who demonstrated what might just be possible. There's a saying that goes along the lines of, when a butterfly flaps its wings in one corner of the world, it has a ripple effect elsewhere. I think there's truth in that. I think we're all interconnected, and I think we all benefit from positive ripple effects that others create in our lives. My parents were especially positive people who weren't greatly encumbered by limiting beliefs. Not only did they support my brothers and me shivering on the sidelines of countless events across New England, but they subtly and continuously emphasized the importance of effort, persistence, and focus. Countless coaches and volunteers created opportunities for me and encouraged me to keep trying, to persist when things got impossibly hard, as inevitably they do. And let me tell you, there were times when it got impossibly hard. When I first started ski jumping, I was little, and ski jumping boots that were available at the time were too big. So my mother, being a problem solver like many mothers are, innocently got me a pair of cross-country boots at a ski swap. Those low-back boots were ridiculous. They had zero support and a treadless, slippery sole, making for a slapstick routine as I struggled to stay upright, both skiing down the jump and climbing back up it. But that initial disadvantage honed my balance. And when I finally grew into real ski jumping boots, it was like someone flipped on the lights. My older brothers were my mentors. Brother Mike and Joe were incredible athletes who themselves reached the highest level in ski jumping and Nordic combined. In 1985, Mike set the world record. I'll tell you, when you're a kid and your older brother does something like that, you just frame what's possible in a completely different way. So I had that advantage. I'm sure if my brothers were standing here, they'd deliver a similar message. We're all interconnected. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. My brother's mentors, two other Vermonters, Walter Malmquist and Jeff Hastings, broke through on the world stage earlier and demonstrated to my brothers that becoming an Olympian was just doable. Some great sports psychologists helped me to understand the incredible power of your thoughts. And in the years that followed, I've come to recognize that the extent to which your thoughts drive your reality is utterly mind-blowing. You are who you think you are. You create your own reality, but it only works to your benefit if you believe. And man, was my belief put to the test in some ways I never could have imagined. When I was 19, I found myself alone on the Lake Placid ski jump in the spring. The competitive season was over, the crowds had gone home, and it felt a bit like I was the last guy sweeping up popcorn after the movie had ended. I wasn't satisfied with how the season had wrapped up, and I was stubbornly determined to hone my technique before hanging up my skis for the season. Long story short, I had an Evel Knievel moment when I stuck abruptly on the takeoff, a consequence of my jumping by myself, because during the time that elapsed between jumps, there was some standing water that built up on the takeoff. In summary, I went over the handlebars, breaking my back, bruising some internal organs, breaking my wrist, and breaking some ribs. But comically, that event didn't mark the end of my career, as most people assume after requesting to hear my worst wipeout story. Strangely, that wipeout didn't even leave me fearful, possibly because the impact knocked the memory right out of my brain, but rather it ratcheted up my determination, and I went on to win 6 national titles, compete on 2 Olympic teams after that unfortunate little digger. Nowadays, I no longer seek out the biggest ski jumps in the world, but rather I'm behind the curtain helping create opportunities for younger athletes. In 2007, when the U.S. ski team cut all funding for ski jumping on the grounds that it was just too difficult to break through, a former coach of mine, Alan Johnson, created a 501c3, and together with my brother Joe, Rex Bell, and Jeff Hastings, we all rallied the ski jumping community in America to engage. We've built an incredible amount of momentum, and it's been really satisfying and fulfilling to pay it forward. I see juniors with GoPros on their helmets building their courage and conquering their fears, and I see our top athletes learning the values of dogged persistence as they come to stand head-to-head with the best in the world. Recently, I was brought to tears by something I didn't expect. We brought the Ski Jumping World Cup back to the United States, hosting the first event in 30 years in Lake Placid, coincidentally where I had that crash. The Polish team was doing especially well at the time, and thousands of Polish-American ski jumping fans came out of the woodwork and showed up to support the Polish jumpers. The Polish fans were partying and having so much fun and clearly felt so much pride in their connection to the amazing Polish athletes who had worked so hard to reach the top of their sport. With painted faces, they were dancing and waving banners and singing songs in Polish. I, meanwhile, was 1,500 miles away watching the event on TV, and I really felt that energy. I was suddenly struck by the awareness that I was one of the key people behind the curtain who created some ripple effects in time that made that moment possible. In conclusion, this honor isn't just mine. It's for every Vermonter who cheered, coached, and believed in someone behind the scenes. I think there are a lot of great life lessons that come from aspiring to be the best you can be at a sport, and ski jumping in particular is like a mirror for life. You set your skis in the track, let go, and trust. It builds courage, confidence, and character, lessons that I'm passing on as I help kids find their paths. Let's keep creating ripple effects that lift others, sparking moments of joy and possibility that echo through time. Let's build adventures for the next generation so they can soar even higher. Thank you.